To the men who messed it up with an amazing girlfriend or wife, how's your life now? My drinking got really bad and everything went to hell. If there's been any money, my wife would have taken our 3 small kids back home to Canada, but she was somewhat stuck. But when I truly realized that my whole life and everything I loved was in broken pieces on my feet, I decided enough was enough and that I had to sober up. I did a short stay in rehab and threw myself into recovery. It took a while, but I slowly began to earn my wife's trust again because she saw me doing the work and saw me changing my behaviors and, most importantly, saw that I was staying sober. That was in 2005. Our kids are grown and mostly launched, and we truly have lived happily ever after. Story 2. My life has been pretty terrible. Every ex I've ever had was right to leave me. Being honest with myself is definitely the first step to healing. Taking a genuine look at who I was then, who I am now, and realizing I wasn't good enough for myself, why would I have been good enough for someone else? Nobody owes you sticking around while you're battling depression, you know? Things are looking up now. For example, I have a job offer for this year that I should be able to accept by the end of the month that actually pays real money, so it's not like I'm bitter or full of regret. I can simply and matter-of-factly state that I hold no resentment towards the women who were in my life and wish them all the best. Story 3. Honestly, after breaking up in my late 20s, I spent a year and a half beating myself up over the broken 5-year relationship. I thought I had messed it up with the only one who understood and cared about and was attracted to me, and that I was now doomed to singleness forever. At the time, I had many reasons to believe I was destined to be friend-zone material at most for every other girl I was attracted to. Then I finally shook myself out of it. I resolved to never make the same mistakes that had ended my previous relationship and decided to start talking to girls I encountered in real life. Immediately, I met my current girlfriend, and we're now 2 years into our relationship. I don't often compare her to my ex, but when prompted, I've realized she's objectively better in most ways, and my friends and family have all pointed this out to me as well. She's incredibly nice to me, and everyone else. Thoughtful, generous, and shares my core values. She's also a solid 8 out of 10 in attractiveness, and I often think she's way out of my league, even though she doesn't think so. I love her a lot, and it's clear she's extremely in love with me, too. I'm not saying that we don't or didn't have problems, but we were both committed enough to the relationship to work through them. I guess what I'm saying for other guys in this situation is that if ones exist at all, there are at least a few other ones out there. Probably quite a few. It's not over. Story 4. Because my ex ended things with me and broke my heart exactly 10 years ago, I am where I am today. Where I am is where I literally dreamed I'd be when I was a kid. Plus, even better, and reaching these dreams is a direct result of the decisions I made to give my life direction when he broke up with me. I definitely wonder if he has, or at least had regrets, because I know what he lost, and I did, even back then. I swear I'm not conceited. I just know I was a good partner to him, but he just wasn't ready, and honestly, it did me a kindness ending things. I wouldn't be here if we stayed together. Nowhere close. I'm sure he does hear about me because our families are close, but maybe not because I don't hear much about him. I truly hope he's doing well and happy with his life now. The image I have in my head if we ever meet up is that I get to tell him about my career and he replies, "That's what you wanted to do when I met you. I'm so glad you made it." Story 5. I feel uniquely qualified to answer this. Lol. Not a man though. Number 1, don't pine and try not to wait around for closure. Sometimes in your life you have to create closure yourself. Don't resort to hating them. But there also isn't some grand epiphany waiting for you at the end of loss that makes it okay either. It will hurt for a long time. Possibly forever. And in the meanwhile, you need to keep living and growing and hopefully thriving. Number 2. Know that nothing is ever truly over, and both of you will probably love again, and possibly better than your idealization of a previous relationship. Number 3, if one or both of you finds happiness with someone else, be happy for them or yourself. You love them, after all. I don't think love needs to be or should be conditioned on whether they spend their time with you, have intimacy with you, or talk to you. Just knowing they're out there, hopefully happy, should be enough if you love them, even if it hurts that you can't be that person for them or partake in their happiness. A series of horrible and unavoidable life circumstances stressed us both out and stressed our relationship beyond belief. We coped as best as possible, but in the end, we couldn't make it work. Sometimes the circumstances of love matter as much as attraction and love, and that's just how it goes. I spent years dating, but I've always hated it and had a hard time falling for someone romantically. Intimacy is easy enough, and those hormones can sometimes fill a void. Which is why I think so many people have casual intimacy, but when it comes to looking for someone to have a relationship with, no one has come along so far. About 8 years later. As cliche as it is to say, learn from your mistakes and know that it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Giving yourself to someone fully, mind, body, and soul is truly a special and rare experience, and maybe most humans never get to experience it. To be honest, to the original poster, perhaps even you haven't experienced it, and are just feeling raw after what was a normal but dramatic relationship. Most relationships probably don't need to be this fully consuming, all in, love everything about them thing. The most successful couples I've seen basically like certain things about their partner and avoid the stuff they dislike. That's similar to friendships, though. No other person can truly be your everything person, and frankly, it's probably not healthy to try to make one person into that. I eventually came to grips with things by seeing my ex get married to someone else and letting go of the life I'd imagined for us. I truly think a good portion of mourning is feeling lost for the future we imagined for ourselves and others, but it's important to realize that future was never real. And it's also important to realize that now that future never will be real. And to let go of those notions after realizing they were always just an idea, an image, a fantasy. Remember what went right, remember what went wrong. There's no need for exaggerating blame to either party. Relationship failures are never one-sided. Take those lessons and incorporate them into who you are and how you behave with your next partner. Don't hate them. Don't hate yourself. Try to be clear-eyed about it, as much as it sometimes hurts. I guess here is a final note, and this is a big one for me. Remember what you loved about them and how they changed you as a person, hopefully for the better. I know that for me, my ex inspired me in so many ways to be a better person, and some of those changes took me years to process fully and embody. In general, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, and every person we encounter has an impact on who we are and who we're becoming. Let those into your life whom you respect and admire and want to be like, and distance yourself from those who aren't. Don't let loss make you into a bitter, small, or angry person. Remember the generosity and trust it takes to love someone and lean into that, keeping it as a vector for growth. It may take years, or even never, to fully embody that, but that's the best way to move forward, rather than dwelling on reminiscence of a past or visions of a future that never were. If this helps at least one person out there, these are hard-won and hard-fought lessons, but without minimizing the difficulty of loss, they're lessons worth learning and embodying over one's life. Story 6. Not bad, to be honest. I identified what I was doing wrong and fixed it, and my current girlfriend looks at me like I'm the best man in the world. What really bothers me is not being able to make it up to the one who truly deserved it. The person who stuck with me as much as she could during my worst times, but now only has hatred in her heart for me. Sometimes when I'm with my current girlfriend, I can't help but think, my ex would have enjoyed this so much, and a few times I've even teared up. It sucks, but that's life, I guess. Story 7. This thread offers a good example of the deep, existential void some men carry within them. The woman you loved, and with whom things went wrong, often reflects the very qualities you wish to embody yourself. It's as if you were trying to obtain those qualities through someone else. If, after years, your gut still clenches when you think back to her, it's a sign that you're not meeting your own needs, wants, and desires, or that you haven't fully processed the pain from that time. If you don't address that emptiness and wounding, you will go through your entire life with that persistent, unhealed pain. 2 words. Screw that. Story 8. We were together for 7 years, married for 1, then separated and divorced. Sometime between separating and divorcing, she met someone through work and had a baby within a few years, possibly even sooner. The thing that stung. She named her kid what we were discussing for potential kid names if and when we wanted to start a family. By the end of our relationship, we had reached a point of complacency and I felt like I was just coasting through it. There were issues stemming from my naivety about relationships, mainly not being attentive enough and not focusing much on minor details. By the end, I realized I wasn't being a good partner. However, some of my friends, both male and female, told me I was being too hard on myself and shouldered more of the blame than I deserved. They reminded me that we both made mistakes. As someone who tends to be very self-critical, it was hard for me to let go of that, but I tried to push those thoughts aside to just get through each day. Since then, I've struggled with major depression, but I've also made improvements in my personal growth. I threw myself back into dating, learning more about myself and relationships than I ever did in the 7 years of my relationship. Though many of my experiences were driven by intimacy at the start, it was nice to feel wanted again. I went to school and to do my bachelor's degree within 6 months of separating. Focusing on me and my goals as I had spent so much of the relationship thinking about us rather than me, it was what I needed for my personal growth. I met someone not long after finishing my bachelor's who had gone through a similar experience, and we've been dating for 3 years now. In July 2023, I moved to Japan to teach English for a year, July 2023 to July 2024, and then returned home. I began a teaching master's program in January 2024, which will be completed later this year. Lots of changes professionally and personally. I see too many people that get knocked in their back and then just never get up again. All I can say is work on yourself. Put yourself in a position that makes you feel good and sets you up for success, and everything else will follow with it. Still have more goals. Saving up for a house post-graduation. That will take a little time, but will put me in a position to keep the momentum going and work towards something else after I accomplish the next goal and the goal after that. Potentially work on and then publishing some of my book ideas. Just gotta keep on moving and improving. Story 9. I cheated on an amazing woman multiple times, and when I finally started to really get my crap together, it was too late. We were together for about 4 years and she left about 4 months ago. She had a new partner shortly after. I started therapy a few months before she left to mainly try and get to the bottom of why I did what I did. It's been helpful having someone to talk to, but ultimately I miss her every day. And not a day goes by where I don't regret my actions. Trying to date has also been a nightmare for a multitude of reasons. Ultimately, I reaped what I sowed. I'm doing what I can to plant new seeds and hopefully never cause someone the hurt it caused her or experience this heartache again. Story 10. Not great. It's been 2 years. She had CPTSD and her father passed away during a relationship. She would isolate herself and vanish a lot with frequent blocking and unblocking out of nowhere. I never got mean or anything. She was a sweet girl and didn't deserve her trauma. She deserved someone who could truly be there for her. I wanted to be that person, but it was hard. About a year ago, I was just tired. My little sister went missing and she had suddenly blocked me again. I was alone and under a lot of duress, so I reached out to her under a false identity. She found out, admitted it, and I was immediately blocked and everything again. This time for good. I've been in therapy for a year now and started antidepressants about 4 weeks ago. I miss her every day and feel so much shame and regret. I tried to apologize, but I'm still blocked, and her friend told me she doesn't even want her to mention me. That was about 4 months ago. Story 11. I think I might be the girl he messed up with. Part of me definitely hopes so. We had a good time together, and from what he told me, he never did the things he did with me with anyone else before. Like meeting everyone in the family, being truly honest, opening up psychologically, especially, and just being able to let loose. He had a difficult upbringing, a stereotypical boarding school childhood. He said I was the best thing to ever happen to him and that he'd want to propose if we were a bit further into the relationship. Long story short, he broke up with me, giving me odd reasons that he later revised. I said goodbye to his parents, and they were shocked by the news, telling me he might not be ready and that I should give it some time. They really adored me, and I adored them. They were lovely to me and told me directly that they were so happy I was in their son's life. He, on the other hand, started putting less effort into the relationship the more serious it became. He began using substances again. His mom had found him after coding before, and there was no therapy or anything afterward. He just went down the same path he had crawled out of when we met. He didn't have an easy upbringing, to be fair. He quickly started dating the girl he told me not to worry about, and it's since been a couple of months. And although he said he'd wanted to remain friends and was anxious about me potentially developing hate towards him post-relationship, he was the one to burn everything to ashes in a short-lived attempt at a friendship. It's hard to not feel resentment or pain or miss him in some ways, because for a certain time I thought he could be my forever. But I do trust that what we had for that period was authentic and real, hence why I'm saying I might have been the one for him. Story 12. I'm not in the group that was asked, but I have some insight. I'm 45 with 2 young kids, married for 7 years, and together with my spouse for about 15. My teenage years and early 20s involved a handful of relationships. None very long, and a failed 3-year marriage in my late 20s. So, how did it go happily ever after for me? Well, I learned. What didn't make sense to me in my 20s seemed like common sense now. In my opinion, there's no one that got away unless that one is yourself. Love yourself, your life, and your purpose. When you do, you'll be very attractive to someone who matches that energy. Identify your stressors and reduce them. Develop strong skills and career prospects. Don't squander all your money. Have a retirement plan. Take care of your health. Practice good hygiene and wear age-appropriate clothes. Don't be unkind to strangers. Be generous with your energy and compliments. Understand the difference between a genuine compliment and negative microaggressions. Then you'll be the one who got away. Story 13. Nearly 10 years ago, I failed to be present after I lost my sister, and I lost the love of my life as well by pushing her away. I regretted it every day for 8 years. As of 2 years ago, I mustered up the courage to get into contact with her again, and as of last month, we're engaged. I honestly couldn't be happier. I would have never met a woman as amazing for me as her. Everyone paled in comparison to her over the years, and I'm so happy I was able to pony up and reach out to her again. I kept telling myself she must hate my guts, but I was just going into myself relentlessly. When I finally saw her again, she looked at me the same way, and I knew that love was still there. Story 14. Guess I'm late to the party, but I totally have a very different view. I've had several incredibly amazing girlfriends in my life, but I was happy and eager to move on when I felt that there were compatibility issues or felt that the relationship would not be a good fit for the long run. This is including the times where I was mostly responsible or at huge fault. I'm very happy with the decisions I've made and have little to no regret. I do once in a while think about them on occasion, over a couple of drinks or so, but for the most part, it hardly impacts my life. Story 15. Absolute loneliness. I was young and partying a lot and felt like I wasn't ready to settle down just yet. Now, 26 years later, after a string of absolute horror show relationships and single mothers with extreme baggage, I've been single for 3 years. We all know how trash dating is now, but I can't even get dates anyway. I give up. Meanwhile, she has been married to the guy she got with right after the breakup this entire time. Moral of the story, if you find an amazing woman, lock that crap down. Treat her like a queen and never let her go. Story 16. I thought I'd mess things up with an amazing wife. She helped me become a responsible adult and sometimes made me laugh. However, I wouldn't attend church with her or become as devout as she was, so it seemed there was no way our relationship could truly work. I believed I'd squandered my one chance. Not until I met my current wife. She is genuinely caring and truly loves me unconditionally, and while I sometimes feel I don't deserve such a person in my life, she tells me I'm wrong and has been my guiding light for 18 years now. Story 17. My ex-husband left to be with someone who was polyamorous and wouldn't mind if he had other partners. The grass was not greener, and he's told me that he will regret it forever. He shouldn't have been so determined to deny his drinking problem and refuse to get help for his mental health issues. According to him, all the therapists were poisoned by me. He also should have blocked the meddling old flame and stopped messing with other women. Oh well. I'm not in love with him anymore, and I will never be the girl at home he's complaining about again. He never complained about the intimacy or my looks, and to be honest, I think that's all he really misses. He didn't really like me as a person. He appreciated me because I handled all the adulting and I'm a great mom to our kids, but I'm too square, severe, and old-fashioned for him. He's too interested in attention from the whole village and cynically attached to escapism for me. I'm now someone else's girl. We'll always be friends for the sake of the kids and because both of our families are pretty awful and unsupportive. His are completely exploitative and unrefined, and mine don't care about me beyond wanting to use and exploit me if they can, or brag about me. Story 18. I was in a relationship that lasted most of my life, from age 14 to 30. She was the first and only person I had ever been with. We even managed a long-distance relationship when I was in college, 6 hours away. However, being with only one person my entire life started to really bother me. I began to feel like a loser for having only been with one girl. So I saw someone else and then a few more. I knew I would get caught. I'm terrible at keeping secrets, but I kept going anyway. She found out and we broke up. That's tough for me because when I feel terrible, I feel like I deserve it, which I probably do. I don't even know why I'm typing this out, to be honest. I don't expect any sympathy or anything. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 19. It's not the best, but it's starting to get better. Divorced for about a year now with a woman who was amazing, but she cheated on me and left. I was in a rough spot for a while and tried to numb the pain unsuccessfully. Time helped, and I started therapy and started being more open with people again and being myself in a way I hadn't with my wife in years. I even found a woman who genuinely loves me even when I'm acting like me. All in all, I'd say life is going just as it should, and it's getting better all the time if you allow it to do so. Story 20. I tell myself I've grown from the experience. They've moved on. Can't change the past. All the cliches, but the truth is, I know in the deepest part of my soul that I'll never really love anyone as much as I loved her. Years later, I miss someone new, but that love I lost just eats at me, knowing that I missed the chance with the only person I've ever had an emotional, physical, and intellectual bond with. I try to tell myself that it's good I had something so amazing for the time I did, but it doesn't work. It doesn't stop the heartbreak, and nothing ever will. I've just accepted that at this point. Story 21. I'd been dating a girl for a few months. I was really into her. A few months in, two things happened. One, a girl told me she wasn't looking for a serious commitment, and two, another girl, B, started reaching out to me and we got close and she confessed her feelings to me. But I was still hooked on girl A, and girl B finished up her studies and moved 2,000 miles away, back home. I stuck with girl A and we dated for 5 years. We acted like a committed couple, but she would never talk about getting married or any next steps and eventually ended things when we got a job in another city. By then, girl B was long gone and married to someone else. In hindsight, girl B would likely have led me to a solid relationship and possibly a marriage. It wasn't such a clear decision back then, but with the perspective of a few years to ponder, choosing the person who wants to commit to you versus the person who doesn't is a big deal. Story 22. I was very lucky. I eventually got sober, but too late to hang on to or make it up with my ex. She was just done with it all, and I don't blame her at all. If I was with me, it'd have left me long before she did as well. I'm 19 years sober now, and I met someone else who I've been happily in a relationship with for 14 years, and married for 8 of those. My ex and I still talk, because we have 2 daughters both grown up and living their own lives now. And my ex has also been in a decent long-term relationship for years as well, which I'm very grateful for. It wasn't how I planned or expected it to work out, but I'm just glad I got another chance, and happy that so did she. Story 23. It's looking like divorce right now. I'm right in the thick of it. From reading some stories about people getting back together after a year or two, it's given me a bit of hope, but my wife is a hard-headed woman. I would do anything to prove to her I'm the man she originally married and not the disappointing decision I regretfully made. I hate myself. I would do anything for my family. I love her and my children so much, but no matter how much talking and pleading I do, I seem to just keep digging myself a deeper hole, always saying the wrong things. Honestly, life doesn't feel worth living without them. I'm such an idiot. Story 24. I was on a carousel of girls that I thought were the one for maybe 6 to 12 months each. I did this for years. I'm always straight out of one relationship and quickly into another. Not unattractive, but was deeply insecure. I finally started to love myself and at the same time met another girl. She was actually special. We were together for nearly 5 years before my depression got the better of me for too long and brought her down with me. I started to flirt with other girls for validation. No physical cheating, and at the time I knew the girls I was flirting with meant nothing too, but I still cringe today and consider that an emotional cheating. She stood by me when she found out. Though I did have to work for it. Eventually she couldn't take my all-consuming pit of depression and we split up. My life spiraled and I nearly ended it. A few years of recovery later, and we became friends, though the awkwardness never disappeared entirely. I met someone new and started to properly heal, and this time took real control and responsibility for my own mental health as a part of my love for both of them, and myself, and everyone else. She helped me more than I ever imagined anyone could have, and is still helping me to this day with the restaurant debts in my previous life. I would do almost anything for her. I've never been happier and feel blessed to have met another genuinely special woman, who I now have 4 beautiful daughters with and a son on the way. Our family means more to me than I ever imagined anything or anyone could, and I finally understand how someone could pass away for someone else, instead of because of them. No matter how bad things get, no matter who drops out of your journey along the way, no matter what reasons things go wrong, things can get better if you just keep trying. Never stop trying to improve who you are, and I don't just mean work out or earn more. Story 25. I'm good now and happily married, but I'll never forget my first love. We were 14 when we met and hit it off instantly. Being that we were teenagers, it took us some time to actually become a couple, but once we were, it just felt right. We were together for 3 years from the end of our freshman year until about a month after we graduated. We broke up because I insisted on joining the army after high school instead of following her to college. We knew it couldn't work and kind of put things in fate's hands. We did stay together until the night before I left for boot camp, but then that was that. We didn't see or speak to each other for 8 years and randomly ran into each other at a wedding when we were 26. We decided to rekindle things, but it didn't last. It was too much of a mess to handle a real relationship at the time, mostly due to PTSD and unresolved trauma from my time in the service. Her breaking up with me when we were adults gutted me, but I also understood. She's happily married with a little baby girl now, and I could not possibly be happier for her. Story 26. Not a girlfriend or wife, but a close friend. She was this really nice girl from Qingdao who I got really close to after I just recently broke up with a long-term girlfriend. We were both living in Korea at the time. After spending a lot of time with her, she started dropping a lot of hints about wanting to take a relationship further, even inviting me to her place when she moved back home to China. Unfortunately, that never happened. We communicated frequently for about a year or so, but we ended up gradually living our own lives and meeting different people. I'm currently happily married and have a daughter, but I do at times think of what could have been had I pursued this girl. I haven't communicated with her for almost 5 years now, but last time we talked, she was finding her stride and moved to Shanghai. Story 27. My life is great because I blew it. All the pain I went through, I knew I couldn't do again, and over the years, I've worked really hard to be better. I was broken when she left, and after suffering the worst of it, I rebuilt myself. Then I met the one I married, and she helped me even more. I feel like I'm a great dad and pretty good husband and an all-around nicer guy that people look up to and appreciate. I'd be none of that if she hadn't hurt me, or at least it's far less likely. I wasn't a terrible person before, but I wasn't worth what she could offer, my wife for that matter. I had to earn it, and I feel like I have. Still hurts sometimes, but I haven't stopped trying to be a better man. Pain can be pretty useful. It's not my favorite tool, but it sure was effective. If she ever reached out, I'd thank her for breaking my heart. Story 28. I ended up finding someone even more amazing, but the damage I did to my ex-wife and to the psychological development of our kids, by continuing in those destructive patterns until a marriage was completely broken, that's something I will have to live for the rest of my life. Even though I have everything going for me now and every reason to be totally happy with my life, there's a constant burning awareness of the pain I caused, through my alcoholism, and how it has echoed through the lives of the people I love. Definitely puts a damper on things. Story 29. We broke up 30 years ago. She was beautiful and I was an idiot. I dumped her and ran off with a woman, and after 6 weeks, I knew I had made a massive mistake. Wormed my way back into her life, but I never changed. Preferred to be out with my mates and chasing other women. I was a selfish muck. And after 9 months, she ditched me. I never made much effort to try and get her back. Just moved on to another girl a month later. I was a good-looking dude back in 1994, but now I'm in my mid-50s, old and ugly. I've had countless relationships and a second marriage. Liz only lives in my subconscious now and comes out sometimes to haunt me in my dreams. Story 30. Pretty good, actually. The pain from that loss drove me hard into self-examination and introspection. The following years saw an insane amount of growth as an emotionally maturing human. I'm engaged again to an equally amazing person, and my ex and I become friends after I laid myself out and apologized for everything instead of holding some kind of resentment about her leaving. I get it. If I had a daughter, I would advise her to do the same. The growth I've experienced has actually made me feel like a solid person now. When I feel conflict, I examine my side of it first. Spend time scanning myself for behaviors and for hang-ups that I still don't know I have. I go to therapy. Life has been a good lesson so far, and I continue to hunger for more lessons along the path. Story 31. I'm well in every regard, except romantically and perhaps socially. It was 5 years ago, and I haven't dated seriously since. It wasn't until a year ago that I stopped thinking about her. She got married within a year of the breakup. Family introduction. I was always happy for her and her relationship, though. I knew since the screw up that it was never going to be the same, and that the best thing I could do for her is go no contact and let her heal. Story 32. Honestly, it's still freaking great. I have a career in my dream field that pays well with minimal hours and I'm truly passionate about. My hobbies are all improving. My health is improving as much as I am lonesome for her often enough. I'm happier this way. As much as she was amazing, that didn't change the fact that we weren't made for each other, and while in a different timeline, I would take her back in an instant. Too much damage has been done for the relationship to ever supersede her level of happiness independently or with someone else. We made each other better people tenfold through the experience, regardless of the bitter ending, and I'll always be grateful for the time spent. There was nothing I hoped for more in my entire life than for it to work with her, and when it happened, none of the good things about my life mentioned above felt like they meant anything. It passes, though. Most things do. Story 33. Still very recently, about 5 months through the situation, I messed up a wonderful relationship. We were supposed to get married last month, too. I absolutely bawled at the strike of midnight 2025, knowing I was alone for the first time in 6 years. In those 5 months, I've acknowledged my mistakes. Started going to therapy, I restarted my health journey, and I'm trying to do the best I can for myself. I miss her every day and hope she can heal as well, so that we can work things out. She's everything to me, and looking back at my mistakes, I can't help but be severely disappointed. If things don't work out, I have no one to blame but myself. Story 34. I've never dated a crazy or awful woman. They've all been amazing, but it always gets me screwed up in the end and had my part in that. I wasn't awful or cruel, so I don't take all the blame, but definitely had my faults revealed. After my last ex, I was single for 5 years. During that time, I changed and matured a lot. I spent a lot of time reflecting. There were other chances to start something new, but I was always hesitant and didn't go for it. One day I was traveling and doing ketamine therapy for depression, and I dedicated each meditation session to thinking about one specific aspect of my life. In a session about relationships, I felt so inadequate looking at all my past failures, and at the very end, a random thought popped up. Talk to that girl. Her being someone in my social group who I noticed was really cool, but I was still no relationship mode. The day I got back, I texted her. Hey, it's been a while. Been together 5 years, married for 2, and feel truly blessed. She's perfect, and for her, I strive every day to be better. She makes living worth it, and I trust her with my life. Even today, it feels like a honeymoon. Story 35. I was a dumb kid with no morals and huge insecurity problems. I cheated, so her breaking all contact was well deserved. I had a crush on her starting from preschool, and we finally got together at 18. Felt like I achieved everything I dreamed of for over a decade, but I had trouble saying no when I was intoxicated, so after 3 years, we ended with an ugly no-contact breakup. Besides a few slip-ups, she has kept me blocked in all forms of communication ever since. It took me around 6 to 8 years to not think of her every day, and for the nightmares to stop. I think what sucks the most is that she'll never believe what we had was real. I hated every moment of cheating, but she understandably can't believe that. I sought therapy after to address this behavior, which helped. I'm now with someone wonderful, and I'd never break their trust. My ex's memory will probably hurt for the rest of my life, not even due to not being together, but because of me needlessly destroying something so precious. Story 36. I almost lost her. Got married young in high school, controlled religious environment. I had childhood trauma that really needed therapy, but that was frowned upon. The marriage hit rough times almost immediately. We lived through it for the first 8 years, and then I wasn't faithful. That lasted 5 years off and on until I had a full-blown life crisis that started with the loss of my religious faith. I disclosed everything, and we went to therapy for the first time. She stayed when she realized I was serious about change. We both left the high-control religious group, and now 6 years later, our lives and relationships are the best they've ever been or that I'd ever imagined they could be. Story 37. Still depressed, but doing a lot of self-reflecting. I messed it up with a really great girl due to my depression and nothing ever being good enough for me. I've come a long way from being incredibly poor, and that has always been the driving force in my life. Unfortunately, even after getting to where I am now, it was never enough, and I constantly felt behind and worthless, so that spiraled me into an even deeper depression, which affected the relationship. All of these insecurities pushed me to believe that my ex wasn't good enough, when in fact, she was amazing. Every show we watched, songs we enjoyed together, the house I live in, are all constant reminders of my failure. It's been a year, and I'm hoping time does heal all wounds. I often want to reach back out to her, but I feel like she doesn't want to ever see me again, and that this would be more for my sake, so I don't. The woman I lost, I'm sorry for not seeing the amazing person you are and making you feel like you were less than that. I miss you. I love you, and I hope you're doing great because you deserve it. Story 38. We were together for 16 years. I know she's happy, and my 17-year-old twins are safe. Some days it's incredibly tough, and I'm leaving after spending time with my boys. There's still a strong attraction and connection between her and me, even almost 3 years later, but some things just have to be left alone. I don't voice any of the thoughts running through my head, and I know she doesn't either. It is what it is. I messed up a lot. I wish I'd realized years ago and stopped being a substance user. I'm almost 3 years clean now. Hindsight is always 20/20, though looking back is still a bit fuzzy. At least I have a good relationship with my sons, and she and I have been able to maintain a friendship as well. My only tip for anyone who cares to read my thoughts: do what you can to save yourself from yourself. Don't let whatever you're struggling with destroy you or tear your family apart. Story 39. My first love. Had a quarter-life crisis post-undergrad. Didn't feel emotionally and professionally mature enough to proceed to the next phase. Blamed her for stuff and ended it. Don't think I still love her. More so, love the idea of what we once had, but I haven't even come close to falling in love since. And that was like a decade ago. Life is fine enough. I have a lot of friends that I see all the time. Money is being made. But I learned that you don't always need to be a finished product as long as you're always growing and trending positively as a person. Story 40. I was the one who initiated the separation in my case because I felt incredibly lonely in my relationship. For the last 2 years, she wasn't helping with any of the chores and was constantly gaming on her phone. It didn't used to be like that, but that's how it became. One of the worst times was when we went out for dinner and drinks, and she was literally on her phone for the entire 2 hours. At that point, we'd been together for 9 years. We had many fond moments, and we're a very loving couple in the years prior, but the last 2 years drove me crazy and made me feel so alone. So I initiated the separation. Months afterward, she experienced a mental health episode, which I supported her through because I still care about her deeply. However, that episode drained me even more. Now I'm in a pretty deep depression with no motivation for anything, and I've become an angry person in general, even though I never used to be. I took a month off work starting from the Christmas holiday to decompress from everything that had happened. I've ended up spending 2 weeks of it so far staying in my apartment the whole time, mostly in bed, doom scrolling. I knew I took a gamble when I left her because things were so great before the last 2 years. As I was cleaning the apartment and decluttering, I found all the birthday cards she had sent me previously and all the vacation souvenirs we had collected. It made me wonder if I'd made the wrong decision. The bond and love we had in the first few years was out of this world. I missed it so much. Now I'm left isolated. I'm not close with my family, no contact. I have a lack of in-real-life friends, and because I've become so angry lately, a lot of my coworkers, whom I used to hang out with, are now wary of me. To add to that, making new friends has never come easy for me since I've always been socially awkward with anxiety. When I was still with her, she was like 50% of my social life, with the other 50% being my coworkers. 2024 has been an insanely tough year. I feel like I've lost my sense of self and everything that was important to me. Life sucks right now, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel because I don't even feel like the tunnel exists. I'm just free-floating in space with no gravity or tether and nothing to ground myself to. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.